So we just wrote a comprehensive article entitled "The Problem with Forex Factory," the Forex Factory calendar, and how to actually trade risk events, a step-by-step guide. It's one of the more comprehensive articles that we've ever written, and it's got some really key insights that I think are going to help you when you think about trading risk events. So we're going to start at the beginning. If you're a beginner, you've never kind of heard about these sorts of concepts, start here. If you're a little more advanced, there's a couple sections in the middle that you may not have heard before, and so you can kind of skip around. Okay, so let's get started. So the first main point I think that's very, very important is to understand the battlefield that you're kind of actually in. The Forex market is a mean reversion machine, right? So before we even talk about the risk events, CPI, NFP, whatever, right? You have to understand where, what's the field we're playing on, right? So this is not the equity market, obviously. It's not crypto. It's not growth, asset classes. It's a relative pricing mechanism between two economies. That's what FX is, right? And structurally, it behaves like a mean reversion machine. So when you trade the euro dollar, you're not buying a company with earnings growth potential, right? You're trading on the relative valuation between the Eurozone and the United States. And currencies are anchored by rate differentials, inflation differences, trade balances, central bank policy expectations. And these forces are slow moving and macro driven. So when the euro dollar spikes 20 pips on a slightly better PMI, nothing necessarily has structurally changed, and many of the moves that you see on the economic calendar are just going to mean revert, right? They're going to spike up and then they're going to spike down. You're going to see, positioning is going to change, but there's not really going to be a lot of continuation. So the other thing you have to understand is the role of dealing desks in the Forex market. So large banks and liquidity providers are not directional speculators. They're facilitators. Their job is to provide liquidity, match flows, manage risk, and stay as close to flat as possible. So when everyone comes in and buys one side of the market, right, dealing desks, that's who you're kind of trading with, they temporarily absorb that imbalance, and they don't want to carry any directional exposure. So they hedge or they offset, and they look to mean revert their own risk. So in simple terms, when the market overextends to one side, liquidity providers naturally work to rebalance, and that rebalancing process itself contributes to mean reversion. And that's why you tend to see sharp spikes that immediately retrace. And so, if you're a retail trader, you're taught, and this is true, right? This is very true for risk reward, for building your system properly. The trend is your friend, right? And that's true. When you see a breakout, a big candle, a big red event, you assume an amount of continuation. But the problem is that, probably 95% of these moves are not going to give you the continuation you're looking for. You need to find that 5% that's really going to give you continuation. So if the Forex market's structurally wired for mean reversion, if dealing desks are constantly neutralizing exposure, if valuation is anchored to slow moving macro forces, if most spikes are just temporary order imbalances, that we have to rethink the way we think about risk events. And that leads us to a natural question. What kind of catalysts are powerful enough to break this machine? Right? The one where you can get in, kind of hold the trade and let it go. And so that's what we have to kind of identify. So what events matter then, right? Not every red high impact release on the Forex Factory calendar, right? Central banks are focused on two things, and these are kind of the two things that you need to pay attention to on the calendar. So growth and inflation. Because growth and inflation determine interest rates, and interest rates determine currency value. That's the chain. So if the data does not meaningfully affect the central bank's outlook, then it's unlikely to change the path of policy. So the only ones you want to focus on are those events around growth and inflation. So, growth like non-farm payrolls, employment reports, that sort of thing, inflation, CPI, PCE in the US. Those are the ones that you want to focus on here. And here we have the tier one inflation releases, CPI, like I just said, growth. Here we go. So the simple rule, if it affects inflation, it can move rates. If it affects growth, it can move rates. If it moves rates, it can move FX. Right? That's kind of the way it works. So other, tier 2 data points can affect, but there are a lot, like you can get, PMIs that affect, you can get ISM manufacturing that can affect from time to time. But if you want to keep it simple, just stay with the real big events that impact growth and inflation. Okay, the next thing we have to understand when trading risk events is expectations. So now, markets do not move because data is good or bad, right? Markets move when the data is materially different from what was expected. So before any major release, the market's already formed a view. Economists publish forecasts, institutions, they have their positioning in place, rate expectations are priced into the bond markets, currency valuations adjust in advance. This is their expectation, what should happen with CPI, right? By the time the number hits the screen, a baseline's already established. And if the data comes near that baseline, even if it looks strong or weak on the surface, the reaction is often muted. The outcome was already anticipated, and it doesn't force anyone to change their outlook or their positioning. But when the data meaningfully deviates from expectations, then traders have to reassess, the path of interest rates, the timing of cuts or hikes, et cetera. And it's this reassessment that causes sustained movement. Now, how do we think about what's a real reassessment, right? So there's a difference between a normal print and a shock deviation, and it's important to separate these ideas. So every scheduled release produces a print. Very few produce a shock. And a shock is not simply a beat or a miss that misses versus the median forecast, which you would see on Forex Factory, right? Forex Factory, well, we'll get to it in a sec. Instead, we need to see a shock from all expectations. So if CPI prints at 3.3, it was expected to come at 3.2, the reaction is not going to be much at all, right? Now, let's talk about why the median forecast is not enough. Most calendars only show one forecast number, and you can see this if you go over to like Forex Factory, right? One forecast number, boom, forecast. But in reality, those forecasts exist in a range. Different economists submit different estimates, and institutions model different outcomes. And the median forecast hides the range. And that's a key point to understand. So if your release, lands within that range, the outcome was already considered expected or plausible. If it lands outside the range, then the markets must adjust. So that adjustment is where you get the opportunity. Now, let's connect expectations to the mean reversion framework before we go any further. So remember the structure of the FX market. It gravitates towards equilibrium. Liquidity providers neutralize imbalance. Most moves fade unless something forces repricing. So to break that equilibrium, you need more than just like some volatility. You need more than something that comes near the forecasted, median. What you need is something that deviates from all expectations. So that's what we're trying to find, right? Now, how do you identify that? The next question. Right? How do you identify in real time whether a release is simply a normal number, something that's near, maybe the median forecast like this, or something that's a major deviation? And this is where you need the full range of expectations. So most basic calendars are going to give you this, like we were just showing on the Forex Factory calendar, just the forecast. But what you need is the entire distribution of forecasts, the highest and lowest projections. And what that gives you is the market's expectation boundaries. So before the release, you should know the median forecast, the high estimate, and the low estimate. And this high-low range creates, kind of the shock zone. If it falls outside that range, then there's a shock. If the number prints inside the range, it's already considered kind of priced in or plausible, right? Now, here's what it looks like in an actual professional calendar. They give you the forecast, right? And you're going to see that this is very similar to the forecast that Forex Factory will give you, but then they also give you the low and high range. And so what you're looking for is a number, an actual number that prints outside this range. The second thing that's very helpful is just getting a lightning bolt confirmation. Because when you're in the moment, right, you're trading quickly, the news hits, you don't want to manually calculate, okay, are we falling inside or outside the range? You want that instantly, as soon as the numbers come out. So when a number prints outside the forecast range, pro calendars are going to have a lightning bolt that appears next to the release. And that's kind of a visual cue, confirms in real time that the data has landed outside the expected distribution. And this is what that would look like on more of a professional calendar, right? This is from January 2024. The print comes in, you can see the lightning bolt pop up immediately. Okay, the third thing and the third tool that's really helpful and important is knowing implied volatility and choosing the right currency, because you can get a lot more leverage and a lot more movement if you pick the right currency. So professional traders do pay attention to implied volatility, and that tells you how much the market expects a pair to move for the next day, where risk is concentrated, and which currencies are primed for expansion. So if implied volatility is elevated into a major release, the market's already kind of bracing for movement, and that can increase follow through when a genuine shock hits. So, for example, if if dollar volatility is elevated ahead of CPI, trading a major US dollar pair, euro dollar, dollar yen, pound dollar, allows you to capture, the most movement possible, essentially. And so we actually have this in our implied volatility tracker, which I'll pull up here. It's just a very simple rank order of like, these are the most volatile currencies, and you can just choose one and trade that in the actual event. Okay, so now let's bring it all together. How do you enter a trade? What's the practical, kind of execution? So, a quick list is the tools that you need before we get into that: the full high-low forecast range, the lightning bolt, volatile liquid currency pair positioned to respond. These are all good. And then here's the execution. So once you've confirmed you've got a tier 1 event, inflation employment release, the number has printed outside the full expectation range, the lightning bolt confirms a genuine deviation. Now we execute, right? So there's different ways to do this, but I wouldn't react to the headline instantly. You're waiting for confirmation that the full data set has printed and that the deviation is real. Now, why would you do this and not just jump in like right, as soon as you can? Because I think you're playing a different game when you're trying to do that. You're more of like a machine to machine kind of algorithmic trader, and for that you need different tools. You need like an expert advisor. You need to preset everything. You need data API connections. Then you need rules if spread spikes way up, you like don't get into the trade. And then you need like a multi-$1,000 a month, like some of the providers recorded out are like 6 to 10 grand a month for for these super fast data feeds you can use and get in. Again, that to me is a different game. That's a much different game. In this case, what you should do is just wait for really the 1 minute bar to close, and then you can get all of your ducks in a row. You know which pair you're trading. You know if it's a max deviation. Like you got everything there essentially, and then you're good to go. So wait for the maximum deviation to print. And again, this is not going to be, you're going to get like one of these, like one of these a month, maybe 2 of these a month, right? So it's not that frequently. Number 2, choose the right pair. So one thing you can do is to pair strength with weakness. So before the release, identify which currencies are strong and which ones are weak. And this can be from a fundamental perspective. So you can use like our interest rate probability tracker, or this can just be from a sentiment perspective. Like, earlier in the session, the euro was very strong, that sort of thing. So that's one thing you can do, but for simplicity, I often will just check the implied volatility rankings like we just talked about. And here's the image. It's just simpler. So I'm like, okay, there's a positive deviation in the Aussie dollar. I want to trade Aussie dollar as opposed to anything else. That just makes it simpler. Now let's talk about the actual methodology. Once the shock's confirmed, allow the first 1 minute candle to print. And then after the first 1 minute candle, you often get a little bit of a pullback, maybe like 3, 4, 5, 10 pips. You say 20 pips here, because if you're trading crosses, it can be a little bit more. But I mean, generally the ones that really move, you'll often get a little bit of a pullback on that first 1 minute candle, and then the market will just go on the second candle. So I'm looking for these follow throughs pretty quickly. I don't want to kind of wait around for them, because remember the theory: if this is a real major deviation, if we've identified it properly, then the market should go, right? So they do expand quickly, deliver 10 to 100 pips depending on the magnitude of the release. I would try to take 30 to 70 from the trade on the bigger non-farm payroll CPI type releases. And then you can also think about swing trading. So occasionally a deviation does more than just create a short-term spike. It materially shifts expectations around monetary policy. And this can be around your biggest events that are the most anticipated. So what I would do is do it in two stages. One, take the impulse scalp. So take your 30 to 70 pips on the first expansion after the first 1 minute candle, and then wait for a 38% retracement of the whole move. That could be later in the afternoon. It could be the next day, but generally the 38% retracement, let it stall around that area. Get in, put your, have a couple tries around the 38% retracement, put your stop under the low, and see if you can ride that back to the top, ride it back towards the range high. Now, this structure works because when a release truly alters monetary policy expectations, everything has to kind of reset. And so the first move tends to be fast. The second move tends to be a little more structural. And if you just take profits on the first move, like, helps your trading psychology, gives you some extra ammo kind of to trade the next event. So there you have it. Any comments, thoughts, anything you would add to this? Anything that you do particularly that would be helpful to other traders? Drop it in the comments below. And if you found this helpful and you're still here 17 minutes later, go over to our Substack and give us a like, give us a follow. Trying to publish more of these long form articles to help you guys out, understand, macro effects and how it can apply to your trading.